What's going on, Cardinals? My name is Shane Norwood, your lead campus security officer, and this is a special cowboy edition of...
You're not a cowboy.
2 Minute Tuesday. All right, so the topic of this week's video is lockdowns, and I thought it'd be appropriate to discuss lockdown since we had our very first actual lockdown shortly before we left on fall break. We learned a lot from that lockdown, and we discovered some areas where we could use some improvement. Now, first of all, we discovered we're using outdated terminology, which we need to correct right away. The new term for a soft lockdown is a shelter in place. Now, in a shelter in place, your doors will be closed and locked, as they should be already, and instruction will continue. No need to utilize a safe wall, no need to remain quiet. It's business as usual, with the exception of no students can leave the classroom. Well, no one can leave the classroom under any circumstances during a shelter in place. We'll talk about the importance of that shortly. A shelter in place is commonly utilized when there's an external threat that we don't want making their way onto campus. Now, what used to be called a hard lockdown is now simply called lockdown. Now, on a lockdown, doors will be closed and locked, but instruction will stop. Everyone will remain quiet. You'll cover your windows and doors the best that you can, and you'll utilize a safe wall if appropriate. And if you're a little out of practice when it comes to safe walls, don't stress. We're going to be talking about them in detail in future videos. So one of the questions I got from many teachers after the last lockdown is, why can't security escort my students to the restroom? I had students that needed to go. They had to utilize the porta potties. I don't understand if it was a soft lockdown, or what we should be calling now a shelter in place, why that couldn't happen. Well, what you have to understand is that these situations are incredibly dynamic, meaning that a shelter in place can rapidly evolve within seconds into a lockdown. So a common scenario where a shelter in place could rapidly evolve into a lockdown is the police are dealing with a suspect, say, 3 blocks away from school. They don't see an immediate threat, but they notify the school, and out of an abundance of caution, we go into a shelter in place. Now, let's say that suspect flees and takes off on foot or in a vehicle and makes their way onto campus. Well, now we have a real problem, especially if an unarmed security guard is escorting a vulnerable student to and from the restroom when this happens. So please understand that security escorts are simply not an option during a shelter in place or a lockdown due to the gravity and dynamic nature of that situation. And that's all I've got for this week, but like I said, we're going to talk a lot about this going forward. It's an important topic. We need to make sure that everybody's up to speed as it relates to safe walls, how to keep your kids safe during an emergency situation like this, how to prepare for an extended lockdown. These are all topics for future videos, so if you haven't already, please make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the Santa Paula High School Security Team YouTube channel for all the updates that we put out. It won't just be 2 Minute Tuesday videos, it'll be a lot more information, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a thing. If you have any comments, any suggestions, leave them in the comments below or shoot me an email. And as always, thank you for all you do to keep our students and staff safe. I'm Shane Norwood, Lead Campus Security Officer. This has been 2 Minute Tuesday. We'll see you next week.